Hello, everybody. It's Derek Paul here. I wanted to talk to you guys about a book that I finished. It's called The Warrior Poet Way by John Lovell, and I found that it was a fantastic book. Um, this specifically talks about the two aspects of masculinity. Um, as you are probably aware, the adult man is the living embodiment of masculinity, and it comes from this perspective that a man is both a 100% a warrior and 100% a poet, and knowing when to apply that. Now, this is coming from a guy that knows his stuff. This is John Lovell. He was in Special Forces. He was a missionary in South America. He's a homesteader. He is a tactical training guy. And then he's also a pastor in Georgia. So this guy kind of embodies both of those things, both of those sides pretty well. I heard him speak. First, I saw him through YouTube years ago. I thought he did a great job. And then I heard him speak at a homeschool conference at FPEA 2 years ago. I thought, okay, this is great. This guy's smart. He's does a good job presenting. But then, and I knew like the warrior poet thing. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Maybe they're trying to be trendy. I went and heard him again this year, and he was talking about how a man needs to fully be a warrior and a poet. And I was like, oh, this is very much like the developmental concept of bonding, and how in order for a son to bond to his dad, he needs to see his dad as both good and strong, or warm and welcoming and dangerous to bad guys. Like there's this paradox, I would say, of both of these things. And he uses the terms warrior and poet. And with his vast experience, he would talk about how military guys would come home from war and the very freedoms they were fighting for, to enjoy their family, etc. They would see their families fall apart. And so he was on a mission to help these guys who are really strong on the warrior side develop appropriately kind of the softer, more approachable side that can switch gears, um, and enjoy the freedoms that they fought for, which I just thought was really cool. So, yeah, I was reading through the book, and I was reading the introduction, and it said, "These seemingly contradictory poles in my life were confusing, but I knew there was something true and paradoxical in my desire to be both dangerous and good." And this just struck a chord with me because, um, especially in the church, we see that there's a disconnect between like pastors and their sons. In this latest generation, we see a disconnect between generations that have worked in terrestrial reality with their hands. They build things, they do stuff, they play sports, they do these things, to a generation that is almost completely virtual, that lives virtually. And there's like this code shifting gap that exists. Um, and so we have these like warrior dads and poet sons wondering why things are not working out so well. Here's one of the things I wanted to bring up from the introduction. He says, "A whole man is not part warrior and part poet. He's all warrior and all poet. To be anything less than both is to be incomplete," which I totally agree with. And I've seen this in ministry as well. One of the main points that I really appreciated as well, which is even backed up scientifically, is that men bestow masculinity. Masculinity is absorbed, it is passed on from the masculine, not the feminine. So we'll have like moms that are trying to teach their sons to be masculine, and it's just like falling on dead air. It's like if you don't know how to fish, you can't make someone a fisherman. Like it's just you can't give what you don't have. Men are the living embodiment of masculinity, and women are the living embodiment of femininity. And they're the what is it? The saying is the best woman in like the relationship with the son is worse than the worst guy. And similarly, the inverse is true. The best man, the best father is worse than the worst woman. Like we are not good substitutes for each other. We do our very best, right? And I'm not calling out anyone, but we do our very best. One of the things that I really appreciated about this book, and in some ways it's similar to the book Wild at Heart by John Eldredge. In fact, on the cover, John Eldredge is quoted in his review of this book. I felt that when I read that 20 years ago or whenever it came out, that it talked about there being an issue in the church of the church becoming feminine, but I didn't really feel like it addressed the concrete boundaries and issues that men face, really. It was just kind of roundabout talking about it. That's how I felt. Many of you know my testimony, and I was in the midst of that when I read the book, and it was just kind of like, oh yeah, good self-help book. This book is not that way. This book is like he's telling the person how he lives, why he put certain boundaries in place, why that was important, what he's done, and how that has affected his family, and how that has built his business. And I think it's really nice that he lays down like concrete anecdotes and situations, things he has lived, not just theorizing about. Um, we know, especially in the church, that pastors and theologians, etc., are really good about theorizing about how we should live, but taking that abstract concept and actually living it concretely is much easier said than done. And so you want someone who actually has the practical application of what they are talking about. And I'm not like nixing any pastors. Obviously, there are many pastors who are able to do that. But on the religious side of things, it is kind of feminine. It is kind of the poet side, the more passive, more thinking, more creative side, but not necessarily the doing side of life. And then we have people who work with their hands all day and are really good about the pragmatics, I would say, like the School of Hard Knocks, real life sort of thing. They're more the warrior side. I love this book. I think it's very good. This would be really good for dads that dads and husbands who have guys in their sphere, especially Christian guys in their sphere, that want to encourage one another um, to continue throughout their life, bonding with their sons, treating their wives well, that sort of thing. This is not the sort of book that like a wife gets for her husband to try to change him. This is not the sort of book that um, like a lady gives a guy. This is the type of book that a guy gives a guy. And it's really good. There are some guys out there that are not ready to be challenged um, in their strength. They're just not. And so this would not be a good book for them until they are like really ready to say, okay, what would life look like if I challenged myself a little bit? I think this is a great book and a great place to start with that. So I hope that that is an encouragement to you. Um, it's not a difficult read. I'm reading multiple books at the same time. Most of the time, I really don't like sharing a lot of my books because I'm just kind of a private person. But I think this is a good one. I think it's great. I think it's good for ministry. I think it's good for church. I think it's good for men's Bible study or book study. He is a Christian. He is a pastor. He brings Christ into this. But even if someone isn't a Christian, um, this book would help them to understand the importance of morals and how that poetic side of morals influences the warrior side, the need to defend those values. So it's really great. I couldn't encourage it enough. Um, but I think and it was specifically made too for guys more on the masculine side, but on the warrior side. But it's a good book. and I would encourage most men to read this book. I hope that that is good for you today, and that you have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.